Before the storm begins, breathe. Let the world fall silent for a moment. Because what you're about to hear is not for the comfortable. It's for the few who still believe they can transform. If this message already moves something inside you, subscribe to Unshakable Mindset and stay with us on this path. Now, listen. There exists a level of the mind that frightens even the strong. It's the place beyond excuses, beyond pity. Where fear no longer commands you, it obeys. Most will never reach it. They'll call it impossible. Or worse, unnecessary. But a handful of souls, restless and relentless, step into the unknown and learn that discipline is a kind of fire. They feel that fire burn away their hesitation, their comfort, their need for validation. The ashes that remain are focus and purpose. In that furnace, weakness dies. And what's left is something terrifying. A will that cannot be moved. This is the scariest level of mindset. Where sleep becomes strategy. Where emotion bows to mission. Where silence speaks louder than applause. At this level, you stop chasing balance. You become balance. Unmoved, unshaken, unbreakable. Your friends won't understand it. Your enemies will fear it. And you will learn to walk alone with peace in your chest. And fire in your eyes. When the noise of the world fades, you'll hear your own heartbeat say, "Now you're ready." When you decide to climb higher, the first thing you meet is not light, it's depth. The mind does not rise straight upward, it must first descend. Down into the caves where your fears hide. Where every voice that ever said you can't still echoes in the dark. Most turn back here. They feel the pressure of old failures pressing on their chest. And call it fate. But the few who continue know this weight is not a curse. It is the resistance that forges them. You will walk through the valley of doubt and call it training. Each shadow will test you, whispering, "Why do you fight for what no one sees?" And your answer must be silence. Because silence is the language of mastery. You'll feel loneliness gnaw at the edges of your mind. Your reflection will start asking questions you don't want to answer. But that's the descent. The unraveling of everything false. The stripping away of every comfort that once kept you small. Here, time slows. Days blur into nights, hunger becomes memory. You stop counting the hours and start measuring the distance between who you were and who you're becoming. Every step downward is a test of surrender. Not to weakness, but to purpose. You learn to let go of the need for applause, for validation, for proof. You move not because someone watches, but because the mission demands movement. Your heartbeat becomes a war drum. Each breath, a vow. And in that rhythm, something ancient awakens. A whisper that says, "Keep going. You're almost free." Freedom doesn't live on mountain tops. It hides beneath the rubble of your excuses. To find it, you must dig with bloody hands. With eyes that burn from sleepless nights. With faith that does not flicker in the wind. Down here, there is no map. Only instinct. Only the faint pulse of purpose guiding you forward. And when you finally stop fearing the darkness, you realize you are the darkness. You move within it, command it, shape it. That is the first glimpse of power at the scariest level of mindset. Not domination over others, but sovereignty over yourself. When you reach the deepest point of the descent, you will meet the trial. It does not come with warning or mercy. It arrives when you are exhausted. When your hands tremble and your hope feels thin as smoke. This is the moment the weak call the end. But for those who understand, it is only the beginning. The trial will not ask if you are ready. It will demand proof. It will strike at every weakness you thought you had buried. It will whisper doubts in the voice of those you loved. Show you comfort wrapped in guilt. And promise you rest if you only turn back. But if you resist, if you stare back into the storm, you will feel something break inside. Not your spirit, but the illusion of limitation. Every hero in every myth met this place. Every warrior, every sage, every builder of empires. The trial is eternal. It waits for those who dare to claim mastery of themselves. You will sweat and curse and want to quit. You will beg for a sign that it's worth it. The sky will remain silent, because the answer is already inside you. The silence itself is the test. To stand in silence and still believe. That is power. The trial will strip you bare. It will take your pride, your comfort, your certainty. But what it leaves behind is unshakable. When your body collapses and your mind screams enough, your spirit will rise and whisper. Again. That whisper is the sound of transformation. It is the proof that you no longer need the world to fuel you. You have become your own fire. Pain will still exist, but it will no longer rule you. Fear will still whisper, but it will no longer command you. And when the world throws its storms, you will not hide. You will walk through rain as if it were sunlight. The trial teaches one truth. Discipline is not about control, it is about surrender. To surrender your weakness, your excuses, your comfort. To something greater than yourself. To a purpose that outlives your doubts. And as you rise from that darkness, covered in the dust of your own rebirth, you will realize. This is not the end of the journey. It is only the first time you've truly seen who you are. This is the trial. The crucible of the scariest mindset. The point where you stop seeking strength and start becoming it. The darkness begins to thin. The silence that once felt endless now hums with power. You take a breath, slow, steady, and realize something impossible. You are no longer fighting the storm. You are the storm. The same shadows that once chased you now move at your command. The fear that once paralyzed you now fuels your stride. Every scar glows faintly with purpose, every wound is a reminder that you survived. This is the ascent. The rise that only begins once you've faced the fall. Most people think rising is about running away from pain. They think light comes after darkness. But the truth is harder, deeper. Light is born inside the dark. You climb not because you've escaped the abyss, but because you've learned to carry it within you. As strength, as memory, as fire. Up here, the air is thin. You can't breathe the way you used to. Each step forward takes will, patience, and faith. The weak will call it obsession. The wise will call it mastery. You no longer need motivation. You move by design. Your goals are carved into your bones. You wake not to chase glory but to honor the war you fought in silence. The ascent teaches you that peace is not found, it's built. Brick by brick, day by day. With hands that never stopped even when the world turned away. And when you look down, you will see the path you crawled through. The mud, the fire, the endless nights. You will see every version of yourself that once said I can't. And you will whisper back. Thank you for trying. But I'm not you anymore. As you rise higher, you'll notice something else. You stop needing to prove your strength. You stop announcing your battles. True power doesn't shout. It moves quietly. A calm presence that bends chaos without effort. You start walking differently. Not faster. Not louder. Just certain. Certain that no matter what comes, you've already been through worse and came out unbroken. The world will test you again, of course. It always does. But now, every challenge feels familiar. Like an echo of an old enemy that no longer scares you. This is where peace and power meet. Where you realize the scariest level of mindset isn't rage or toughness. It's stillness. It's looking chaos in the eye and saying, do what you must. I remain. That's when people around you start noticing something strange. You smile less, but mean it more. You talk less, but your words cut deeper. You no longer need recognition. Because you've already met the only judge that matters. Yourself. The ascent is not about being untouchable. It's about being unshakable. To move through storms, through failures, through pain. And still walk upright, calm, and focused. And that's when you understand. You didn't climb out of the darkness. You brought the light into it. The wind at the summit does not roar. It whispers. It sounds like every breath you took in the dark. Every heartbeat that refused to stop when the world turned away. You stand there, not triumphant, but calm. The kind of calm that only arrives when every storm inside you has been met and mastered. The mountain beneath you isn't rock and ice. It's built from every promise you kept to yourself. Every time you rose when it hurt. Every time you acted when no one believed. Every time you stayed silent instead of seeking praise. From here you can see everything. The trials, the falls, the nights that almost broke you. They weren't punishment. They were passage. You look down and realize that the summit isn't a place. It's a state of being. It's what happens when you stop running from pain. And start sculpting it into power. Up here, you finally understand why the scariest level of mindset is feared. Because it leaves you with no excuses. You can no longer hide behind weakness. You can no longer pretend you don't know your own strength. That realization is freedom. And freedom, real freedom, is terrifying. You walk to the edge. Below you lies the same world you once feared. But now it feels small. Not because the world changed. But because you did. You feel the pulse of purpose move through your veins. You feel the quiet certainty of someone who no longer needs to prove anything. You feel peace, a dangerous kind of peace. The peace of someone who cannot be moved. This is the scariest level of mindset. Not rage. Not dominance. Stillness. Focus. Clarity that cuts through chaos like light through fog. It's knowing that storms will come. And smiling anyway. It's hearing doubt and answering with silence. It's falling and choosing to rise, not once, but every time. You look to the horizon. The journey never ends. But now, the climb is no longer a burden. It's an honor. Because you've become the kind of person who can carry it. Take this moment. Breathe it in. Remember how it feels to stand above everything that once controlled you. Let that feeling carve itself into your memory. So when the next storm arrives, you already know. You've been here before. You are built for this. You are unshakable. And if this message woke something inside you, if it reminded you of the strength you already carry, then join the movement. Subscribe to Unshakable Mindset. Because this is not the end. It's the beginning of every rise that follows. Walk forward with calm eyes and a steady heart. Carry the fire quietly. And when someone asks how you became unbreakable, you'll smile and say, I reached the scariest level of mindset.